Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode 11 of The Burning Wheel. We were all just talking about Fallout, surprising nobody. I feel like Austin, we were talking about how we were all just kind of obsessing over Fallout these days, and how we're like, well, so in between sessions, we'll just jump forward 200 years. There's been a horrible explosion. And then Austin made maybe the worst pun I've heard all day from another person.
Hey, we just started. It can get worse.
I said that we'd renamed it from Freiburg to Friedberg. We'll just put up a D in there.
Yeah, just real nice. And well, the great thing would be in the opening establishing shot of Friedberg, we would just see Freiburg and someone has spray painted a D just in there.
Yeah.
Or like the bee swings on its little nail and turns into a D.
Friedberg.
Friedberg.
Yeah. So as Chad has noticed, Jess is looking particularly animated today. That is not actually Jess. It is a drawing of Jess because our baker is away this evening. But we will soldier on. Well, the rooster will soldier on. The rest of us don't have soldier wise, so we'll just do whatever we can do. But
Yeah. Do you guys even have the soldiering skill? I don't think
Not
so.
even a little bit. No.
do
Do you even soldier?
I'm a fake soldier boy.
Ooh, boy. What remind me again, what is the soldiering skill for?
Like digging ditches, breaking down or building camp,
Right, that's right.
all that kind of stuff. All the like periphery around going to war.
That's right. Yeah.
We have had no use for thus far.
That's
I
fine.
put all these points in it, Adam, and it's just okay.
Really though? How many? What's your soldiering at?
I don't know. I think I only put 1 point in, but
Wow.
I feel like if I had known you had the soldiering skill, a lot of things would have gone different.
Okay, well, just a heads up, guys.
Thanks,
You
I
need any
appreciate
ditches dug? I got B2 soldiering. I can take care of it.
Nice.
Just be like, yep. Well, the outhouse is damaged. Go dig us a latrine, Rooster.
Yeah, I'm on it. I got it. No problem. Been digging latrines a long time.
But you haven't dug one in a while. So last time we ended off. I'm gonna assume we'll say that we've had like a day or so, or at least the rest of the day, for y'all to get situated at Basil's house. There was some discussion on the Reddit thread between sessions about what the resource cycle is for and like how resources work, because there was just talk about like, well, how does that? People wanted me to kind of go over it. So. Resources in Burning Wheel is an abstraction of how currently well off the character is, both in terms of like capital, so like how much like actual like money you have to contribute to the economy, but also in terms of like favors you can call on. It's not directly affected by things like reputation, but it's like your ability to get the stuff that you need by whatever non-criminal like ways you get them. Calling in favors, actually
Like
buying
social
stuff.
credit even, right? Like, like Basil's good for it because he's always paid his bills.
Yeah.
So, like, he can just get this big barrel of wine or, like, to get the cleaning supplies he needs to keep his place clean because, like, eventually it'll come through.
Yeah.
Just
So
on being on credit or whatever.
there is a system in Burning Wheel, like an adjunct to resources, called the cash die, where you can get filthy lucre in the form of like gold or silver and add temporarily to your resources. So that's a thing that we can do. But the way that the resource cycle ties into that is that basically once I think we're doing it seasonally outside of Freiburg, but I want to do it monthly inside Freiburg because it's the difference between a sort of peasant focused seasonal resource cycle or an urban resource cycle where it's more based on like rent and that kind of thing. So while you're in Freiburg, we're going to test your resources monthly, and all that means is can you continue to live at the means you are living at now? So when we first see Basil, he started off pretty well off, right? You have this house and like you're all sort of flush post-revolution, but you haven't done anything that has gotten you more money necessarily. And so you were taxed in making that resource roll to maintain the sort of standing household that you have.
Right.
So a failed resource test doesn't necessarily mean, because people are like, well, why do they still get to stay in Basil's house? And it's like, it just means you're taxed. You're like running low on that capital. Your landlord is like, okay, well, you really actually have to pay me this month. And then characters that have no, like everyone is living off of Basil's largesse right now, aside from Rooster, because everybody else has 0 resources.
Yeah, I'm
'Cause-
also at 0 now because my previous cycle bombed and dropped me to 0. And when that happens, you just are destitute.
When your tax is equal to, because tax kind of acts as like negative dice. When your tax is equal to your current resources, your resources drop permanently by 1. Because people are like, oh, okay, well, you're just not going to cash in, or we're not going to cash in on this debt, so I guess we'll just not give you things next time you come looking for them. So you can reboost your resources by spending downtime, like doing work, by pursuing it in game. So having like a belief of being like, I need to make some money before I get kicked out of my house, and pursuing that in game. Or by getting cash dice for the next time you roll, because successful resource rolls build on your existing resources in the same way that a skill would. So that's resources. That's a thing we have to deal with in the civilized world.
So I'm just kind of curious, story-wise,
Yes.
if our whole sort of premise going into Grouchstat and that whole affair, were we not to receive any kind of payment from whatever governing body sent us all there in the first place?
I don't know. You might have to ask a certain Baron about that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a word with the Baron.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the thing, right? Is like if you don't have resources and you would like to increase your resources, you have to look at the other skills you have and use them to get money for you, right?
Yeah, like if you have the blackmail skill.
Exactly. I was going to say if you have a trade skill like armor smithing, blacksmithing,
Extortion.
yeah.
I have that.
trades.
That I have.
Yeah, extortion is a legit money gaining skill for sure. Yeah. You can roll circles to find a vice-ridden former noble, and then you can use extortion to extort them. Problem solved.
I'm just saying, like, if you want to keep this nice house, you got to pay a little bit here or there.
Oh, I was going to say you're extorting the other characters now. I see it. Well, I hate to break it to you, Basil, but they're way broker than you. So
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get blood from a stone.
Yeah.
Rooster, apparently.
You can't get blood from the rooster.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of that to dole out.
Someone in chat asked, "Is capitalism a skill?" No, it's a disease, and you have to make tests to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
So you're kind of holed up at Basil's. Agnes has been called away for revolutionary business. Maybe she went to see Simon, and the rest of you have been. Maybe you're having this conversation over like some wine, talking about like what to do next.
So at the end of last session, also there was the rooster not smoking and joking with the others.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you want? I wanted to make that.
Do you want to start with that? Okay. So Woodsman and Basil are still in the sort of, I don't want to call it a flop house because it's not quite as dingy as that, but the like communal property that Basil is kind of overseeing. Okay, so where do we see the rooster then? Where are you and what's that about?
So he's like going around in the really like bad neighborhoods.
That's right.
And he's looking for other veterans of the slave army. Like people he might have known from his time there. Like he spent most of his life there, so he knows plenty of people. Yeah, so he's trying to find a couple of those guys to form a little.
Okay, so you want to roll circles to find like a small gang, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's the thing you can do. You can make that happen.
Yeah, I want like maybe 2 or 3 other people other than myself.
How many harm do you want this gang to do?
It's a small 3 harm gang with Savage.
Rooster definitely counts as a small gang.
Yeah, Rooster has proven himself many times to not to be fucked with.
God, if he was an Apocalypse World character, he would just be getting so much stuff done. But it's a different game.
Yeah, this is Burning Wheel. The only person that gets things done is you 9 or 10 months from now.
So yeah, I want to find like a couple other folks who are in like similar position to myself.
All right. Well, let me find the circles rules here, and we'll work out your obstacle. And I think you've probably got some skills that you can use to help that, like as a test beforehand, and you got some other modifiers to your dice and whatever. So
Yeah, I've got my circles plus my reputation definitely, and then maybe we can do like a link test where I'm working
yeah,
with someone else.
let's double check these rules. So circles is going to be, like I was saying at the end of the last session, like a much bigger part of the game now that there are actually like people around. So finding people you know and people that can help you with these things is going to be.
I mean,
less
theoretically,
difficult,
in
certainly.
Grosstad, I could have just been like, I'm going to circles up like, you know, some former slave army guy or well, still in the slave army guy, and we could have had that whole thing go down. But
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. You're using your own life paths, no problem. Someone very specifically like in a similar path to
Mhm.
you. And it's not unusual that they would be here because there are other dispossessed former slave soldiers around. Most of them working as I imagine, like we what happens after a war when the soldiers don't need to be like active anymore and go back to try to be in civilization, but that their stratum of civilization doesn't exist anymore. They're trying
yeah,
to find other like violent jobs to do. So I think a lot of them ended up in like the Revolutionary Guard. Lots of them are acting as like private bodyguards to
or
various merchant.
criminals,
Yeah,
or
or like criminal enforcers. Yeah.
well, yeah, because like in the real world, that's why like the SWAT team exists
Hmm.
is something for veterans to go do
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So there, I'm sure, would be lots of equivalent stuff.
Cool.
For,
Okay. So fairly normal, same station as you. Um, and what do you want them for? Like, they don't need to have any particular like skill or like I'm
no,
looking at disposition and character knowledge. So the qualification here of being like skilled at a particular thing, particularly loyal to you, like specifically. Um,
yeah, I think I'm looking for. I mean, Rooster's not being picky. He's not looking for like his best friends or like his
okay.
unit. He's just looking for other folks that he knows. So he does want to already know them. And the idea is that he's going to bring them in as a little, yeah, like bodyguard unit. So they don't necessarily need to have skills that are above and beyond the like basic stuff for being who they are.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say ob three, just for maybe ob two, but you want more than one of them. Um,
Mhm.
and so what do you have for circles?
One,
Okay. Now
but
you've
I
got a
have
reputation.
my reputation. I
Mm-hmm.
think counts on this one.
Definitely.
Die
Mm-hmm.
reputation.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, you were talking about skills maybe leading into this. Can I do
Yeah.
some
So
kind of
help. You can't fork. Other characters can help. Appropriate wises can be used as link test for
Oh,
circles.
well then, soldier wise, definitely.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I think soldier wise is the best one.
Okay.
So I can fork in my wise, just not anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us have anything to help with, and
Well,
also
and Rooster's not getting help from you guys. Like he's very
yeah,
explicitly going out on his own to do this.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Is it also appropriate for me to bring in survivor wise or slavery wise?
You could okay make so you have you have soldier wise all three of those.
Soldier, slavery,
Okay,
and survivor.
make
are
a
the ones.
soldier wise test with forks from the other two.
Okay, and this is like my link test. Cool.
Yeah, and that'll be your link test. The obstacle here, I'm gonna say ob two. If you can get if you get higher than ob two or higher than two successes, then you'll get the extra.
Okay, great. Wish me luck, friends.
Yeah.
Face up to.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. So that sucks. Okay. So wait, you're still wounded? I mean, it's still a failure, but
Oh, I have a superficial wound.
you should not
Oh,
anymore.
Yeah, because it was from
Okay,
yesterday.
Because the superficial wound, all it takes is like 10 minutes. So if you just like sat down and hung out for a little bit, it would have gone away. Even so, just
Even
make
so,
sure you
I'd
mark
still
that
fail.
off for your next test. So you're at
Yeah.
-1 die for your circles test.
Woo!
So things have changed. Maybe there was an exodus, or the people you went to look for have all found like other jobs, or
Yeah, or just like Rooster doesn't really know what the hell he's doing.
maybe
It's
you just
also
maybe
weird.
while you were away, your friends just like lost your phone number, or like,
Yeah,
oh,
have
okay,
moved on.
Rooster. Yeah. So maybe we have like a short kind of montage of like Rooster like knocking on doors or like going to bars and like not recognizing anybody.
Yeah, and like getting a lot of like head shaking as he's asking for like directions or for where he might have ended up.
Yeah.
Okay. Still, here's the big kahuna here. The circles roll with my reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's ob 3.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm at -1 success.
-1 die. Yeah.
-1 die. Okay, hold on. Sorry. So I guess I'll just only add 1 die. Well, I really want this to work, so I'm gonna spend a persona.
Okay.
Good call.
And hopefully roll a 6.
Oof.
All right, I'm spending a fate as well.
Okay.
Better.
Try and get it twice.
You know,
You might as well. You got to get in on it. So you got to get a 6 and then
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, so it's another success, but still only 2 out of 3.
Yeah, still the low blow. So, I can either say that you don't find them, that they've all just kind of like that Rooster's been left behind, or that the people you find are in some way poisoned against you.
Or yeah, more trouble than they're worth, or whatever.
Can I suggest? Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
One way, and this is a really open suggestion, which is like, what if he finds someone who has moved in a direction, either for back down into the pits or up into like the working middle, like the working lower middle class.
I like the idea of meeting this person who has done way better than Rooster.
Yeah, me too.
He's like, hey, you want to do this awful shit with me? And they're
And
like,
that's not even the complication. Like, I don't know. You could also, Adam, like complicate that even more because that sounds complicated. But
Okay.
I
Yeah.
find someone who actually has a reasonably good life, and that's my complication.
I think so. Maybe the people you go looking for have, in effect, like I like the idea of like former slaves who, because you don't have names, right? Who have started to create their own like subclass of like, not like they adopt the sort of working class, but they're all like toughs essentially. And instead of having a job, how like Agnes's last name is Baker, and we've seen like Cooper and like stuff like that. Maybe these guys are like their last name is Freeman, and they're just like mercenaries basically.
love it.
And they're like a family. They're not related, but they're all Freeman.
Yeah, and the joke is that if you want a Freeman to help you, it's going to cost you. Like,
Yeah, for
Lower
sure.
cost.
They're like a mercenary guild called the Freeman, and that's their sort of like, they're like, yep, no, we've claimed our middle class status.
Right.
Cool.
Because the old middle class people still don't want to get their hands dirty. Like,
Yeah.
Of course.
that's the thing we have over them is still we can do this and not bat an eyelash.
Yeah.
And now we can get fucking paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of them are like professional soldiers now.
Yeah. Or like we were talking about
Or,
before, like
yeah,
leg
bodyguards.
breakers or bodyguards or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, the bankers need someone to guard their money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that especially now that the guards are actually doing their jobs elsewhere in the city and aren't just set up to protect those who are powerful. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. It's required a little bit of restructuring.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. So maybe we find the Rooster outside of the guild hall of the Freeman. And actually, it occurs to me that we didn't even do our like belief instinct trait review. So
Let's do that now.
okay, cool. Also, that's a really fun like little addition to the setting. This like Freeman's Guild.
I can love it. I love it so much.
Cool. It's like mercs and odd jobbers, adventurers, if you
And
will.
then we can all roll up Freeman. You know, like, oh, it's so
They're the
good.
shadow runners of our setting.
Yeah.
Basically, like, yeah, so this is the kind of thing that I love about building settings as a group is that eventually you get to a point where there's like enough stuff that you can be like, all right, well, let's put these characters aside and let's all play, like,
Yeah.
let's play Freeman, let's play troubleshooters and do like a police procedural or like a dungeon crawl kind of game.
Yeah,
Cool.
totally.
Okay. So anyway, beliefs, instincts, and traits. Do you want to go first, Basil?
Sure. I haven't switched this up yet, but I'm thinking about one of them. So the first one is one regarding Agnes. Agnes's desire for knowledge blazes furiously, and stoking that flame could be the way towards burning away this damnable curse.
Okay.
The second one is the one that I'm thinking about adjusting based on the stuff from last session, or maybe this is like we're on the way to turning it into something that I can get persona for.
Hmm.
For faith to have any place in our new world, the will of God can no longer be an excuse for the sins of man, especially as we go to confront or as this new religious sect billows up. Or I could make it something way more specific about my name being used, or our names being used by this new religious cult. And then Grouchstat was a crucible, but my leadership helped us to survive. I would be the one accountable for the winter's failings.
That'll be one that'll definitely come up.
And then my instincts are whenever I have a moment free, review the writings of my mentor, the philosopher Gertrude, never let a friend walk into danger alone, and always fight dirty. And traits are haunted, muttering, cynical, political, contemptuous, cowardly, your lordship / citizenship, and mark of privilege.
Excellent.
Kill that there.
All right. So the first two beliefs,
Yeah.
like Agnes is busy, so
Yeah.
copy pasting that into the notes section and putting up a new belief for today would be fine.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if that was too...
Yeah, no, definitely. Like these are just the beliefs that you care about right now, and you can
Gotcha.
put them aside and bring them in later. And then also, for the second one, I mean, if you want to have like a specific reaction to the things that happened in the last session with the black robes, you're welcome to do so.
Okay.
And it can even be as simple as like, I will learn the origins of this
Totally.
new occult society or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
So feel
Give me
free
some
feel free to ponder that.
Sounds good.
Woodsman.
All right. So, excuse me. My beliefs are in betraying ruler, I betray myself and my family. I won't become close with anyone. Also, the world is a cold and violent place, and life has little meaning, but I don't mind risking mine without pause. And though I've lost everything, there is one shard of myself that remains. I am a hunter.
Excellent.
And instinct-wise, I've got... I'm immediately suspicious of strangers. My guard is never down around them. I don't sleep well at night, so I wander and hone my skills in the late hours. Upon the first hint of danger, I conceal myself as best I can, even with...
Sounds good. And then your traits?
Broken man, fearless, mind-numbing work, alcoholic, determined, greedy, resigned to death, and ulcer.
Cool. Resigned to death is actually a die trait too, so if you want to look up whatever page that's on, because you get a bonus to your steel tests when you're in situations regarding facing death.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. I have a few places I think I'm going to push on those beliefs today, so I'm looking forward to that. And the rooster.
Yeah, so this little conversation that we just had kind of prompted me to do this second belief that I have. So I still have my companions are strangers to hardship. It is my place to bear the worst of it for them. And then I've got Freiburg is dangerous and changed. I should figure out where I fit in this new city.
I like it.
And then No More Kings, all slaves must be free. I'll show Basil how little the revolution has done for us, even here in Freiburg, and convince him to take up the cause of the slaves with the politicians.
Cool.
I always defer to authority. When someone tries to touch me or connect emotionally, I push them away. When there is downtime, I work on my fighting skills. I'm masterless, scarred, gambling addict, survivor, pliant, brutish, lame, broken, stubborn, and cold-blooded.
You're all such great people.
We're the
right.
protagonists.
Yay. Okay.
I have a new first one, which is
okay, Red.
the rooster has worked too hard to keep living in squalor. I will convince him to move what little he owns into Red Root Manor.
Ooh, nice.
Which is the name of this manor, I guess.
Cool.
And then I'm rewriting the second one to be about finding out the origin of the black robes.
Okay.
It's also just my name is my name, so you know.
What is your house called again? Sorry.
Red Root Manor. I think you can see. So remember, we described it as being up on this like cliff face, looking down, partially down on the city, and then partially down into the beaches. And I think you can see the roots of certain. I think part of that cliff face was knocked off years ago, and you can see some of the red roots
tree roots
down through the sides of that cliff face. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Great. So, so Rooster. Do you want to go? You want to go in and see about these free men?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, this maybe that was the pre-title sequence piece, right? The like Rooster like looking for friends and then standing in front of this like stone, building, this guild hall. And I think maybe like their symbol is like an axe breaking a chain with two manacles, like one on either end. It's still in a bad part of town, but it's like a reclaimed like bank or something, and they've made it their guild hall.
I love that so much because in like 50 years, no one's going to remember what that symbol meant, and they'll just be like, "Oh, I guess they can like help you with weird thing, like break. If you're locked up somewhere, they can help you break out."
Totally. Yeah. I'm kind of thinking like the guild hall is a bit like the like Carnegie Library, like down on Main and Hastings, Andrew. The like. I don't even know what it is now, but it's like it used to be a library, so it has these elaborate columns. This building,
but now it's like a community center, and
So I think there are a lot of people there who are like gathered around, who are sort of like dispossessed and like live in this like you're in a slum, you're in like a really bad part of town, but it wasn't always a bad part of town, and this building was like nice at one point.
So it's kind of got like the slum kind of dripping off of it, as it were, like hanging onto it.
Yeah, totally. And so you approach, and the Freeman's Guild is a relatively like legitimate guild, but there are like people sleeping on the steps. And so you that's where you stand. That's where we find the Rooster.
Yeah, so I think I probably like grab someone and just start asking them like what the place is about. Like Rooster would never admit it, but he's actually like intimidated, doesn't want to go in. And so he is like kind of grabs someone who's walking by the arm and just says, "Is this the Freeman's Guild?" And also I can't read, so like I'm just like,
sure. Yeah. There's some strange sigils above the yeah.
I know, like obviously like most of the slaves can't read, so I'm sure it's just like everyone's supposed to recognize the symbol, but I've never been here, and so I'm just like,
Okay. Yeah, the person you grab, they like look you up and down and kind of like scowl a little bit and say, "Aye, that it is."
What do they do in there?
I'm sure I don't know. And you can see he's like awkwardly trying to like kind of get away from you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, fine, scurry off. And I just like walk up the steps.
Okay. Cool. One clunking metal step at a time.
Yeah, so maybe we get the shot of just the like clink, clink, and as I go by, like step over the head of some sleeping person.
Cool. Okay. You reach the doors, which they're basically just open all the time, and inside there's a large room with at one point like fine like marble floor that's all like cracked and pitted now. And there's people inside. You can hear the sounds of like merrymaking somewhere in like another hallway, and people shouting and maybe someone singing. And there are a few people in this like room. It's like an open area. Maybe two. Actually, there's two guys like sword fighting in the middle of the room. Not like a serious like pitched battle, but like a kind of drunken like I bet you I could beat you in a sword fight kind of thing. And so there's a bunch of people around like shouting and watching.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of just like walk by that, like shoot it a glance, and then just like I'm looking for like a front desk or
Yeah,
something,
there really isn't one.
or someone who looks like remotely professional at all. And if there's none of that, then I'm just gonna grab the first person who is idle.
Okay. Yeah. 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 There's a. I mean, I think it's one of those situations where there's only like, like groups of people. Like there isn't anyone standing alone.
Hmm. Yeah, well, maybe I recognize someone from back in the day,
Yeah.
and I go and like. So this is like my circles roll coming up is like, yeah, that one person who I maybe recognize, and I
Okay.
go talk to them.
Sure. Sure. So this person, you see them and recognize them. I think that yeah, she was probably just like another like fighting slave.
Hmm.
Um, but she's from somewhere like exotic. She's from somewhere like far away. Maybe where there's like a Freiburg. Like Freiburg had a colony before and was like sent home. So she's a bit, quite a bit. I don't know. Like how old are you? You're like early
I'm
30s.
basically 30.
Yeah. So she's probably like 40 now. Just
Hmm.
kind of a veteran. Um, and yeah, she's a bit of like an oddity in that she was sent back because of like she's some like ferocious like foreign warrior. Um,
In many scare quotes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that she's like really pale and has like long silver hair. Um, and she has it all like bound up like on her head in some again like some like for her traditional way.
Hmm.
And and she yeah, she's standing there talking to a man you don't recognize. When was the last time you saw her?
Probably like 6 to 8 years ago, and
Okay.
like at the Battle of such and such, because she was in like a different unit or whatever, but we were like our units were kind of fighting together.
Okay. And what was her name then? Because she had a name before she was like taken captive. Did you learn what it was, or do you just know her by her like
No, and I
slave
think like a lot of
title?
the slaves had nicknames based on like the way that anyone gets a nickname where like you fuck up that one time and no one lets you forget it or whatever.
Okay.
And so yeah, like people have names like shithouse and stuff like that, like weird
Right.
nicknames
Yeah.
that are objects or
Private Snowball and what have
yeah,
you.
stuff like that. So she has one of those, which I'll let you fill in
Okay. I'm trying
because
to
I'm
think.
drawing a blank right now. Other than shithouse, which would be like the guy who always had to dig the latrine.
Yeah. Um, Princess, I think, is her like kind of ironic, like because she's not at all. But
Hmm.
yeah, there's probably a story to it, but I don't know if you know it because she was, taken slave when she was like, you were probably like 3 or 4 when that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so her and her like unit, her like gang, you can put them on your like enmities like circle list in
Whoa.
case you need to look her up again. And so you spot her before she sees you, and she's talking to some guy, and I think that he looks kind of nervous. He's like got his back against one of the big like interior pillars, and she's doing that thing where she's like leaned up against the pillar with her like hand next to his head, so he
Yeah.
can't really like leave the conversation. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah.
And like, what are they talking about as I come up?
Um, She's trying to convince him to go somewhere with her, and he doesn't want to, or is like being like kind of like pushing back and being like trying to be polite and trying not to make her mad.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And is he like much younger than she is?
He's probably about your age.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I'll walk up and just make some quip about how like, you can't be picking on us kids forever, princess.
So she stops what she's saying, and you're behind her, so you're looking at the guy that she's got sort of like cornered, and
Hmm.
he kind of like looks at you like wide eyed, like you've just made a mistake that he's
Yeah.
gonna have to pay for. and she like stands up, like takes her weight off of her arm, and turns around, and looks at you for a second like she doesn't recognize you. And she's just kind of like angry that this like stranger has just like interrupted her conversation. Do you say anything, or do you wait for her to recognize you?
And then I'll just say like, although I don't suppose they call you that anymore.
She kind of like grins a little bit, and she's like, no, no, they don't. They haven't in a long time. Do I know you?
And yeah, Rooster just smiles his like mostly missing teeth grin,
Mm-hmm.
and then like just lets his missing foot drop
Right.
over it, so it makes a little sound, like he just kind of clicks it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Like you like draw attention to it just by leaning weight onto it, and
Yeah.
she looks down, and then she looks at you and kind of sneers, and she's like, "Ah, you. I thought you died." She looks around. What are you doing here?
Lingering on with the rest of them.
There's no lingering going on here. She gestures around. She's like, we're professionals now.
I guess I missed out on that.
I suppose so. Where have you been?
Graustad, some asshole of the Empire, and I kind of just like point generally.
She scoffs. She's like, we're not an empire anymore, remember?
I forget sometimes.
So, well, say what you will for the revolution. It's given us a place. She looks around, filthy though it might be. You come to join the cause?
Well, I didn't expect this. Didn't expect folk to be so organized. Thought I might find a couple drifters I could pick up for some basic work.
There's still some bound to that thought. People who'll do whatever they're told for money, but you're in the wrong place if that's what you want. Only free men here.
And that's what you're doing then.
Well, right now, and she turns her attention back towards the pillar, and the dude is just gone. And she's like,
I
right
call it
now,
purple.
well, I'm... She turns back around, she's like, see, now you've gone and scared him off. I've been chasing that little thing for weeks. You owe me a drink, Rooster.
Yeah, like Rooster just shakes his head. I'm surprised there isn't a puddle left behind him. Do you always corner them like that?
She says, it's the only thing the shy ones respond to. Besides, I like the hunt. He'll be
And
back.
Rooster kind of like does the old like laugh, pat on the shoulder, like, yeah, we're being chums. It's funny. But
Yeah.
like probably she's not really having it.
No, like there's
He
very
messes up
much...
too.
Yeah, there's very much
Yeah.
a like tension here where she's being like polite, but yeah, she's on guard for sure.
Yeah, and so like I kind of just stop it immediately. When it's just like, oh, okay, we're not buds. Okay, shit. And like Rooster looks awkwardly around, just like, well, suppose I'll be on my way. I don't really feel like this is my place, but good luck with that little thing. I'm sure he'll turn up.
She shrugs. I'll find something else for tonight. And she looks
Rooster,
like she's...
quirks an eyebrow.
Yeah, and she's like she looks like she's gonna say like it was nice seeing you, or like one of those things, those platitudes that you say to someone that you haven't seen in a long time. But then she just kind of like thinks better of it and is like just kind of up nods you and walks away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, well, we can end my scene here, but Rooster just
Okay.
like looks around and kind of slumps his shoulders like, shit. World's
Yeah.
kind of left him behind.
Okay. So, meanwhile, back in Red Root, I I think
Stately Basil Manor.
yeah, yeah, we get the basil symbol. Quickly zoom in and out. Meanwhile, so the two of you are I think you're in the dining room or whatever passes for the dining room. But again, the table is like covered in like pamphlets, like unfinished pamphlets. Maybe there's someone like with an ink pot and a quill, like hard at work with a bunch of candles like melting around them. People have been coming and going from the room. People you don't recognize, Basil, but you know other like revolutionaries with reasons to be in this place. And you and the woodsman have a moment to sort of decide what to do with yourselves.
Like for the night or in general?
I mean, in both, certainly. Yeah.
So I guess we're probably like either mid-meal or we're eating or we're drinking after or something. And I think Basil's like, I imagine we've had some small talk, but like very minimal.
I mean, it's the woodsman, so
yeah, that's my guess.
I'm just like straight lounging, and I've already acquired, you know, what alcohol I could, and sort of gathered it around me. Even if I haven't even had a chance to break into it yet,
right?
I probably have like under an arm, you know, like a couple bottles, just to make sure they don't go anywhere. And I feel like since we've sort of come to such an establishment now, and there's probably stores of things, I've probably got like a pipe. I probably managed to find one. So just to set the scene here, I'm just in sort of this zone of bliss.
Yeah, there's a big fire. There's a big fire going too, so it's like you're warmer than you have been in several months.
Right. Yeah.
So, someone even as kin to the woods like you must enjoy these comforts of civilization,
Well, it's not my first time, but yeah, you've got yourself a pretty nice place going on here.
It's not mine. It's not really. It's it is. I donated it. Of course, I still manage the books and the supplies, and I make sure that it doesn't fall into the hands of creditors. But it is for the use of the citizens of Freiburg, including us, thankfully.
So you know all these people in here?
Like someone walks past. More or less, yes. They are all working on projects.
What's that guy's name? And I just point to one who walks by.
It's one of those things where sometimes people pass through. You don't get to. You just get like, oh yeah, it's him. He likes bread. It's one of those things. He's the bread guy. He paints. That's all I really know about him.
I imagine would be Tim like gives you a confused look like.
Yeah, I think that there's two guys like they're in so this house has all these rooms that don't make any sense to a lot of the people that are in them. They're like, it's like an empty room. It doesn't have a bed in it or like a bath or like it's just like a room with some shelves and like a chair maybe. So people have like repurposed it, and you're looking through. We see past the dining room, and there's like two guys who are playing. They're playing dice on like the floor of what used to be a study. So they're just like sitting there, like with a little pile of like coins and paper bills, like just playing dice with each other.
Nice.
The comforts of civilization. So Woodsman,
go ahead.
Tomorrow we should head to the island, I think, and report in, and then hopefully either receive new orders or receive leave. What do you plan on doing?
Well, assuming we can receive payment for the arduous span of months that we accomplished, I'm not even sure what during. I plan to go back to the woods unless these people need me for more journeys with no destination.
We had a destination. I'm not sure that what we found when we arrived was what we hoped, but
Let me ask you a question.
sure.
Is this, and I take a sort of long swig, interrupting myself. Is this, and I sort of like just look around us, like the walls and everything, and sort of gesture to this, us having returned to the city in general. Is this what you wanted?
Takes a drink, I think. Yes and no. Yes. This is so much better than how things had been for the people here. Again, I know you may not have seen it, but I know what my old lifestyle was built on. I know who suffered for it. And I walk through the streets inside these walls, and I see that things are more or less how they should be. I worry about what I see outside, though, both out in places like Grouchstadt and at the walls. I don't know. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm surprised to hear from you that you think of such things. I don't mean this as an insult, but normally you think of the hunt and the bottle and maybe where you'll curl up at.
Yeah. Tell you the truth, I don't think too much about where I'll end up at the end of the night, but I have to say, being in a place that has a fire is good. It's always good, fire. But I can't say the city feels much different to me, but I spent my days in the woods and wouldn't know of such things, as I'm sure you've come to surmise.
So I think almost on cue, like Rooster bursts through the door with like a little bit of snow or whatever coming in, like it's a cold night. And it's just you can hear him like ranting about how the city has changed.
Yeah.
But also in a negative way, like the woodsman's talking about how it hasn't really changed and how that's bad, and Rooster's like, everything's different and it sucks. And goes to some other part of the house for a bit.
Freiburg never changes.
I wonder about him. I think we need to keep him busy, or I do, or the council. I'm not sure. Anyway, Woodsman, to sleep and to good fortune tomorrow.
So Basil, when you say that, there's you notice like over the last little while, like a couple of the other people that are staying here have brought like chairs or even like cushions from couches that have now long, like the couch itself has now long been like turned into kindling, but and they've like sort of set up in the far end of the dining hall around the fire, where there's a kid who he's like I don't know if you tune an accordion, but he's like getting ready to play this like little like hand accordion, and they've like got a couple of like bottles of wine and they're all kind of like going to sit over in that corner. And when you say that, when you're like to bed, and there's a girl that's like walking past you, she looks at you and she's like, looks kind of disappointed, and she's like, "Oh, you can't go to sleep now, Basil." And she points, and he's like, "We were going to sing, and besides, I wanted to talk to you about the oration."
Do I know what she's talking about?
No.
You can sing, of course. That's not. I'll sleep fine. What?
No, that's not what I meant. We want you to join us, both of you. And she like looks wherever Rooster has stormed off. He's welcome as well if you'd like.
I'll ask him for you. What oration? What singing? What? I'm very confused.
She says, well, Lucas found out the other day from his cousin, who I suppose knows someone who overheard that Erasmus was going to hold a secret oration tomorrow. We were hoping maybe you knew where it was or could get us in? We're all very interested in his teachings, but have so far not been able to hear of them. I have all of his pamphlets, of course, but you studied under Gertrude, didn't you?
I did. Who is? Do I know the name Erasmus?
You don't. No, it doesn't
Okay.
sound familiar.
I would love to see these pamphlets.
Yes,
Let's-
yes, of course.
Singing sounds wonderful. I shoot Woodsman a glance. We all must navigate our own forests.
I think I just like look down and sort of into my drink, not acknowledging this.
Okay.
I'm not
All right.
here.
So Basil, she basically like takes you by the hand and like leads you off to like whatever room her and her like friends are sleeping in, and we leave the woodsman behind with his like several bottles of alcohol on the table as the voice of whoever the boy that's going to like start singing, he like clears his throat and sort of starts like playing the opening chords of whatever song he's saying on his accordion. And so that sound is sort of muted as we follow Basil through the manor.
Okay.
So she's talking as she kind of like leads you through, and she says, the first of the pamphlets appeared, I think 3 months ago. I didn't get mine until last week. I have the second and fifth, but the fourth and first were very difficult to obtain. I had to trade a great deal for mine, but now I have the whole set. It's very exciting. I don't know of anyone who has all of them but me.
That's you must be very dedicated scholar. It's exciting to know that studies have continued here in the city while I've been away.
She says, yes, well, I mean, based on what the pamphlets say, I can only imagine what the oration would be like. It's something else. Let me show you. And so you like come around a corner into what was one of the like several guest bedrooms. And again, like the most of the furniture has been like taken apart, but like there are several mattresses kind of like laid out on the floor. And she goes over to where like she was sleeping, and there's like a large sort of knapsack there. But she doesn't have any like furniture for keeping her clothes in. And she like reaches under the like mattress and pulls out a sheaf of papers wrapped in like an envelope, basically like a leather like envelope. And she like undoes the string and opens it. And inside, there are like a half dozen like broadsheets, like big pieces of very fine looking paper. And the printing on them, there's something strange about them. So she holds them like sort of nervously, like she's not sure whether to like let you like touch them or not.
Right. I'll be very careful. I've dealt with many of these before.
So she hands the pamphlet to you and then kind of like nervously watches you in that way of like someone who's like, oh my god, I have this like really amazing song for you to listen to, and they like put the headphones on and they just stare at you and they're like, isn't it amazing? Don't you love it? And you're just like, yeah, sure, I guess Katy Perry's all right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And so so she hands the pamphlets to you, and there are these broadsheets, but they're like indented somehow. Like the ink on them is laid into like these slight indentations, and it's like there's something unusual about it, and it's hard for me to I'll talk to Austin, the player here, but you're seeing like printed media for the first time, like not like no, someone did not write on this, like a press created this, so everything is like
super uniform.
Everything is uniform in an incredibly strange way. Like there, it's like and it's like if you've ever seen the way that like early Elizabethan like printing was done, like the S's are like F's and like there's no U and V differentiation. And and essentially
it's
like
legible, but it's incredibly strange.
Yeah, it's very strange. There's something. It's like you're holding something that's obviously very like unusual, and she like you look at it and she like is looking at you, and maybe you look up at her, and she's like, you see what I mean? There's something. They're fascinating. I heard a rumor that he has a foreigner conjure them for him with some vast machine. I would love to see it. I'm
very curious about A lot of, what was his name? Erasmus?
She nods. Yes, the
Erasmus.
philosopher Erasmus.
Can I peruse this pamphlet?
Yeah, what does Erasmus tell us?
Yeah, totally.
Try to make sense of it.
So they're written in a very sort of straightforward.
Okay.
If okay, let's make a reading test. Let's see how much
Sure.
you can learn of the character of Erasmus.
I think
By
I only.
way of-
Oh, I do have reading. I do have reading. Can I fork in? Can I fork in philosophy?
Absolutely.
Can I fork in research? Or is that only
Yes,
for...
yeah, because you have an eye for like gleaning the subtext. Yeah.
Right. I think that's it. Definitely not forking in calligraphy. Like very specific.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's say to get anything more than just like the core stuff, yeah, you can just let's say ob2.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what you need to know.
Sounds good.
Oh,
look at that.
you understand the shit out of this paper.
I could burn those. I could get 6 successes. I'm not gonna.
Okay. So you you can get a very good idea of what they're about. So they're obviously written by someone who's very intelligent, but who is also very good at creating stuff for people who are less intelligent, but is also
Sure.
easily understood. He's making complex political and philosophical points using simple language that anyone who could read, which is most of the people in Freiburg,
Right.
and it's very it's very incendiary. It's meant, based on what you're reading, it's meant to agitate, meant to inflame. Erasmus basically posits over a series of 6 short, like, one page, like, essays, that the revolution is not over, that the council was only the beginning, that this is it would be a shame to stop here, and that the true teachings of Gertrude, as applied to the modern age, demand more. They demand an abandonment of moderacy. They demand the complete disintegration of the current social order, and the replacement with this sort of new, truer state of power for all people. Not just those in the Revolutionary Council, not just the uplifting of the middle class. There's a lot of inflammatory language about, what did the nobles do? Nothing. They ruled over us. What does the middle class do? Nothing. They sell us things.
Right.
What do we do? We create.
Right.
And and you actually, I think in the fourth quarto or whatever on the fourth pamphlet, you are called out specifically by name. As being a moderate and you came in from nowhere and were a big part of this revolution, then you just fucked off, and where it's basically I think the section is basically where is Basil, and it just uses you as an example of how the upper class has made these claims that they refuse to they refuse to honor, and that they should.
I even like it. I even like it sprinkled in with other where is and where are things
Totally.
Where is the food? Where are the repair? Where are the repairs? Where is the clean water? Where is Basil? That's
totally.
I like that a lot. What's this? Do I know this woman's name?
Yes, I think you overheard earlier her talking to someone. Her name is Caroline.
Caroline. These are very interesting, exciting. I understand why you would be excited. Fire is exciting, and it's important. It was important when we discovered fire, Caroline, because before fire, we were cold, we were miserable, and when the dark came, there was nothing for us but fear. But I worry that an unchecked fire, one unwatched...
And Rooster passes in the background of this scene.
and could burn us all. Very exciting. Very exciting. I'm just not sure.
And she says, yes, that's what I mean. Context. We have his words in writing, but they're set out into the darkness, like you said. They're torches in a deep cave. But if we could hear his voice, if we could ask him what he means to interpret, to help us understand, I wish I knew someone who knew where this oration was.
I'll see what I can do.
She grins at that and nods and says, "Oh, everyone would be so happy if you could do this for us, Basil. I'm sure you know someone who knows where it is. And besides," and she gestures, "you're holding the like pamphlet with like your name on it." She's like,
Yeah.
"Besides, I'm sure that you'd like to speak with Erasmus yourself to answer some of his claims."
I certainly would.
And so you can hear the like voices have started to raise in the other room. Maybe the boy is like playing a song that everyone knows the lyrics to, and so everyone is kind of singing along. And she looks over her shoulder, kind of like yearningly, like, "I kind of like to get back to my friends."
I give her back the pamphlets and like gesture that she can.
Yeah. So as she's tying the string around them again, she says, I want you to know, Basil, it's an honor being here. We're all so proud of you and the rest of the council for what you've done for us."
I appreciate it. You will live very long lives. And I walk out the door.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, why don't we grab a break here?
Sounds
and then
good.
we'll come back. I want to know. I'm really excited to see what the woodsman is doing in a room full of like 20-year-olds who are like getting drunk and playing the accordion.
Yeah.
Academic hipsters, like I'm really excited.
Basically, yeah, like weird French
arts
revolutionary
people.
beatniks.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we'll find that out shortly. Stick around. More after the break.